All right. Welcome back, everybody. Mike, we were talking about some stuff before people start hopping on. I think our first question that we got from the Jason Taglay, the one and only. I know we see a lot of those kind of pop up nowadays in CubeFit, but he had a question about how to get your one rep max. And I think a lot of people, anybody that weight trains is probably curious about that or what that means and stuff like that. So if you want to get us started,
Yeah.
I would love it.
So one rep max, it's an important number. When working with somebody, you need to know what someone's one rep max is in order to be able to program correctly, successfully. When I'm talking with, okay, so let me back up. One rep max is the maximum amount of weight you can press or move one time correctly. So to me, a one rep max is if you, let's take a back squat, for example, and if you are able to move 315 pounds down and then stand back up, but if you're not mechanically correct, I'm not calling that a one rep max. I know a lot of people do, I don't. So to me, a one rep max is the clean, mechanically correct movement from load from start to finish, whatever you can do one time. And that's what the definition means to me. When I'm working with somebody in the gym and where someone's interested in that, I don't spend a lot of time or effort working with a beginner trying to find one rep max. I think that I put a lot more emphasis on mechanics and building strength and actually stripping people down and deloading people to teach correct firing patterns. And that's what I spend most of my focus on when someone is still in that beginner category. And people grow out of that at different rates. You know, some people will stay in the beginner category for longer than others. Other people grow out of it quicker. But in working with somebody new, I'm always going to start off, and I'm just going to use back squats just because it's one of my favorite lifts. And so what I'm going to do is have you get to the bar, and we're going to do a set of 10 with just the barbell. I don't care how strong you are. I don't care what your experience is in the past. I want to see 10 clean, functionally correct squats. And then if at that point everything is good, we can start progressing and start adding load and start decreasing the rep scheme. And so usually what I'll do is, you get your set of 10 with the barbell, 3-4 minutes off. We're going to get you back up there. We're going to go set of 8, a little bit heavier. And then if that works well, we're going to add a little bit more. We're going to strip down the weight load and continue working up to like a set of 5. And we're going to call that heavy. And then I'll be able to do some math and say, maybe like 1.25% of whatever you were doing for 5 times at your heaviest correctly. We're going to call that about your one rep max. But that's, for beginner categories. And I don't put a lot of emphasis on that in there. Once you get to intermediate, same style, we're going to go 10 reps of just the barbell, but then we're going to start adding some load. So we're going to go like 8 reps at 50% of what I think you could do. And at that point, I'm going to use the RPE scale. RPE standing for perceived. What's the R?
Rate of perceived
Thank you.
exertion.
I was drawing a blank on that.
Gotcha.
So rate of perceived exertion. And I use a 1 to 10 scale on that. So 5 is going to be about 50%. And I like watching to see, so I'm pretty good at guesstimating what percent you're going to be, or what percent of your RPE you're working at, just with my experience in working with people. So we'll do a couple sets. We'll do a set of 8 at 50%. We'll do a set of 6 at 70%. We'll do a set of 3 at 75 and continue working up. For people who are advanced, it's a little bit different. You already know what your one rep max is. We've already addressed that. And so I don't work with people in trying to find a one rep max when you're advanced, because we already know that from the beginning. But that's my approach to it and how I handle it. Like to hear what your approach is on that, David, and see how we either agree or differentiate.
Yeah, so I like how you kind of steadily increase the load for getting those. Like you said, it's the one rep max is what you can lift one time. So if we're using that squat, the maximum weight that you can put on the bar and lift. You can obviously use that with any multi-joint movement too. But I think a big thing too is making sure, I'm just going to reiterate that any type of maximal testing for somebody who's newer to exercise and weight training, we're going to make sure the technique is perfect before we do any type of heavy lifting, any type of higher intensity movements and stuff like that. So I think that's something that we have to make very clear. And when we're doing this stuff, it should be very close to like maximal of what you can do. And that's within like a 1 to 10 rep range. I'm not a big fan of getting somebody's 1 rep max, like having them do a 1 rep max. If I get, you know, a pretty good load and they can do 5 reps of a certain load, we have a good idea of where they're going to be. So I'm not going to take them to, you know, a 3 rep max or a 1 rep max, and maybe their technique starts to fall and things look a little janky. And, you know, then their risk for injury kind of goes through the roof. So if we're in that 1 to 10 rep range and it's just about as hard as they can go, then we're in a good spot. And I'm actually here in a second gonna share a great website, EXRX, and kind of take you through that stuff. But the last thing before that is that I know for people who aren't used to lifting heavy, that if I make them do a little bit more weight than they're used to, it's just uncomfortable and they think it's too much weight. If it's just the next level of what they've been doing. And even if they can do 15 reps with that weight, they're like, oh, this just feels heavy, even though it's not in a strength rep range or anything like that. So kind of getting past that mindset is a really good thing to do. So make sure you're micro-loading with people or yourself as you continue to get a little bit stronger. But what I'm going to do is share my screen and show you this website. Let me know when you guys see it. See it?
Yep.
Cool. So I put in just an example. So let's say there's 200 pounds on the bar and you do 5 reps, right? All you have to do is go to this website. There's a bunch of calculators out there, but this is a pretty tried and true website that I use quite a bit. And you can see that they give you pretty much what that 1 rep max is or something very close to that. And then it gives you the percentages of your 1 rep max so you know how to load those sets. So if we go down here and go even further with it, right, and you can see those ranges of reps and then percentages. So pretty much if you're working for strength, you just want pure strength. You want to be working in that 1 to 5 rep range. So you're going to be working somewhere between 185% of that 1 rep max that they gave you. So what that means is if we're at 225, you're within what, 215 to like 190 pounds for that working set, 1 to 5 reps. And then you just kind of keep working. Yep, it has to be specific to what you're training for. So it's a little bit different if you're training for something like hypertrophy, which just means that you want muscular size or you want to look toned or anything like that. If you're trying to gain tissue, then it's going to be more of like a 8 to 12 rep range. And you can see here that's like 80 to 65-ish%, doing 8 to 12 reps, and then you're going to be in that percentage. If you get anywhere higher than 15 reps, it's going to be like 65% of your 1 rep max and down. So kind of staying true to those rep ranges is going to be a big thing. There's different ones too that, you know, if you train for power, there's more of a speed component. It's still going to be heavy, but you're working just as fast as you possibly can. If you're trying to do kind of a hybrid, you want to get stronger, but you want to gain some size too, you might work from like a 5 to 8 rep range, something like that. I've seen that in different literature called functional strength, which I don't really like because any rep range can be functional. It just depends on what you're doing it for, right? If endurance can be functional if you're a endurance athlete, but you still need to get better at that, and you want to incorporate some weight training. So you can kind of mix and match it, but if you stay true to these, if you get that percentage right there, you stay true to whatever specific things that you're training for, that's a big piece of the puzzle right there. Anybody agree or
Yeah, no,
disagree or
I
have any
agree.
questions about that stuff?
I agree completely with what you said, and I like that you said that functional stuff could be in any rep range. That's super important, and we don't hear it that way, but I absolutely agree with what you said. High volume stuff is functional, low volume stuff is functional. Everything's functional when done correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I agree with that. But yeah, that's all good stuff.
How about okay, so you have your sets and reps and like what weight you want to use. That's a big part of programming right there. You have that. How do you, Mike, or anybody, progress people once you have somebody that's working there, but they don't know where to go from there? Like, what's the next step, I guess?
In terms of that well,
Let's say it's a squat and
okay.
they've been doing that for a little while, and let's say they get to like the top end, they're using that weight and they get to the top end of that rep range. What would you advise them to do, I guess? Or how would you?
What do they want to do? Do they want to continue improving there? Do they want to move on to something else? So that, to me, that's first. What do you want to do? I mean, you've gotten this strength. Now, do you want to continue working on that? Do you want to work on speed? Do you want to work on more explosiveness? What do you want to do?
Yeah, for sure. And if they are still progressing and wanting to get stronger, I say move that load up, right?
Mm-hmm.
I would love to move that weight up so you don't get out of that specific rep range that you're working for. If you're still trying to get stronger, you're loving seeing those reps get higher on the same weight, move up that weight a little bit. Let's say you're in that 1 to 5 rep range. You're starting to do 6 or 7 reps on your working sets. Let's move that weight up 5 or 10 pounds, micro load it. And then once you get to that same level where you're consistently doing 5, 6, 7, 8 reps, keep on working it up.
Yeah, that 1 rep max number is always going to be increasing as you're progressing as well. So if your 1 rep max is 225 and you get up to working, sets of 225, 5 reps at 225, 225 isn't your 1 rep max anymore. So yeah, we've got to continue raising that threshold. Yeah.
Made some gains. That's what you're saying. He made them gains.
With a Z. Gains with a Z.
Exactly.
It doesn't count.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's a good feeling, and that can keep you going too if you're seeing those changes. Absolutely.
Yeah,
I would say if you had a more of a hypertrophy goal, if you're trying to gain some muscle mass, then increasing the weight as you get stronger in that rep range. So let's say like a 8 to 12-ish rep range. You still want to do that, but over time you also have to add sets too, because the primary driver to something like muscular size is going to be the amount of volume that you're doing, the amount of overall work that you're doing. So if you were doing 3 sets of 10, then over time you're going to have to be doing 4 sets of 10, and that weight's getting a little bit heavier. So that's another good way to progress too.
Yeah. Yes, humans are very good at adapting to what we put them through. And if you're working up to a specific, if X is your goal and you continue working up towards that, well, you've achieved it. You're not being challenged anymore because you already reached that. So we've got to always continue striving for a little bit more and a little bit more. And like David was saying, it's micro doses at that point, micro increments. It's not, you don't get to 225 and then jump up to 245. That's just not how it happens. It's interesting. I like to play around with change plates, and it's crazy how much when you're working at your 1 rep max, and when you're 100% in, a half pound or a full pound could make or break that next lift. And it's pretty funny, but You know, you always hear that those change plates, and I have them in quarter-pound increments. So I have a pair of quarters, pair of half-pound, pair of three-quarters, and a pair of one-pounders. And there's times where I've seen those quarter-pounders make you miss your next lift because you're working at such a high percent of your 1 rep max. Austin raised his hand.
Yeah.
I've literally had your change plates break me once on deadlift max. 430 happened and 435 did not.
Yeah, but you know that's why they make those plates too, because if you are working at 99.9% of your maximum, you can't just go and grab a pair of 5s and throw on there. It's just you don't have the strength when you're working that close to your maximal effort. So they come in handy.
For
But yeah,
sure.
micro,
Sorry,
yeah, small little adjustments, not big adjustments when you get to that point.
I was gonna reemphasize that when you get to like elite level strength and power athletes, you'll see people over a year, 2 years put on like 2 pounds, 5 pounds, maybe 10 pounds on a big lift. And that's a win,
Yeah.
because they're so elite at what they do. And the weight's already so much, though, just kind of those micro increments are going to go a long way if you're already one of the best.
It's interesting, kind of along the same lines as using like drag racing is the same thing. You can spend years training, but you're only going to shave off fractions of a second over that 2 years. Weightlifting is the same thing at that level. You can work and only gain, like David said, 2 pounds over the course of a year, but that's a heavy 2 pounds. You're going to earn those 2 pounds. It's not like going from a 135 to a 137 squat. It's completely different.
Man, it takes patience too. Whether it's a strength sport or if you can make it a hypertrophy muscle mass thing too. You're putting on a pound of lean tissue in a year. It might be kind of tough to see that if you're already a bigger person, but it takes that slow progression over time to be the best version of yourself that you can. And if you enjoy doing it and health or a fitness endeavor is something that you want, just be patient with it, because I hear people say all the time, like if they have a big weight loss goal or something like that, oh, it's going to take too long. It's going to take too long. It's a slow process, all that stuff, which is true. All the best nutritional approaches to it and fitness approaches are kind of slow burns. But what are you going to be doing in 3 months or 6 months or 9 months or next year at the same time? Or are you just going to say the same thing when you could have made all this progress slowly over time? Like, you're just in the same position if you're just kind of complaining about it taking a long time. So yeah, be patient. Good things will happen if you do the right stuff.
Yep. Do you, kind of along the lines of a 1 rep max, but a little bit different, do you like playing with totals? Do you ever do a total day where you combine 3 big lifts to get a score?
The last time I did that was in high school, I think. It's just so much fatigue.
It's tough.
I think that I could do that on 1 lift. And but I never take anything close to 1 rep max, so.
We always, in the barbell class that I teach on campus, we always finish up the very last day is just kind of a fun day, fun for all. And we get strong, we throw around some weight, and it's our total day. So we take our best lift from a back squat and a deadlift and an overhead press and combine that score to give you a really big number. And I like
overhead press.
Yeah. I will always go overhead press versus a bench press for my big 3. I think that it's a lot more functional. It's a lot more, it's more applicable to me than a bench press. So yeah, that's what I've done a super total before. I enjoy doing them. It's a good measure. It's not the most accurate measure of everything, but it gives you a good idea where you're at, how you're progressing. If your squat and your deadlift are going up, but your press isn't, let's look at our programming and address it accordingly.
Yeah, that's definitely fun, and it's a good way to kind of do a mock powerlifting meet. If you did the bench press, obviously you could do like a mock meet if that's something that you're into. If you're not into doing the big three on the same day, or any three movements for that matter, it could be whatever, just your strict movement as much as you can do. You could do them on the same week and probably get a better total too.
Much better, sure.
Much better, for sure, just because you're not loading up the spine and all that stuff. The thing with the incremental weights is that might be a portion of it too. If you have a certain load and then you add 1 pound and you don't get it on the next set, you might just be fatigued, right? If that one that you did, you might just have one big set in you if it's 100% of your max.
Nick, on your super total, what all did that consist of? Were you going bench press or you going overhead press? I'm assuming bench press.
Yeah, that was the squat, the bench, the deadlift, the snatch, and the clean and jerk.
Oh,
Super total.
Super total. Okay.
Total, and it's, I think in your, or maybe like in the more in the East Coast, they have these competitions where you do those. So, but those I think those totals are just to have fun with, you know,
Sure.
and
Yeah.
just see where you're at, because your numbers are always going to be lower than doing them by themselves, which you guys were saying. So, but it's kind of fun. I mean, you can kind of do something like that with anything. I mean, it's like a triathlon kind of thing too, like our Tech Man Tri. You know, it's like combining different elements and seeing what you can do, you know, at the same time. But yeah, it was those 5 lifts.
That's tiring.
Yeah, that's intense, man. That's
really
cool though.
tiring.
Again, it's all about having fun with it, for sure.
Yeah,
And
a fun one.
yeah, I agree. Total day is so much fun. Everyone knows the entire or for the entire course that that's what we're doing on the very last day. And it's kind of like last day of school. You know, everyone's there to have fun, and it's good camaraderie, team building. We have fun doing it.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
If strength is something that you're training for, then that's something that's fun. But that's not something that everybody trains for, especially pure strength, like I was saying. So just make sure you're specific with whatever and know when to kind of utilize this stuff and what rep range kind of works best for you. I know we're taking it back to that said principle, that specificity stuff. But if you never lift in the 1 to 5 rep range, which, I mean, most people that come into my gym don't really even mess with the 1 to 5 rep range, you know, even though it's good for some people. I mean, a lot of people don't have perfect form on everything, and they might be working towards it or not, or maybe they're doing more single joint moves, and I can't think of a single joint movement that I would do 1 to 5 rep range. So just know kind of where you're at. If you want to get those percentages, but you're going for like an 8 rep max, you can still kind of feel it out and know where you're at in that 8 to 12 or 12 to 15 rep range.
Yeah, good stuff today. Any questions on anything we've discussed? Comments?
Lots of information.
Just sad because one rep maxes are so fun to do, but they're so hard to do without access to like a real gym or equipment and stuff. They're just a tough thing to do right now.
Yes, unfortunately, you're right. For a lot of people, it's not something that's going on right now.
Yeah. Anyone else online? Cassidy, have you done a total day? Do you ever play with big stuff like that?
I haven't done 1 rep maxes for a while. I think we've talked about it. I feel more comfortable with volume. So I like the volume better. But I'd be curious to see what they are now.
And when you say volume, what rep ranges are you working in?
This year I've done a lot of 8s. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm talking
a lot
about.
of hypertrophy stuff this year.
Regarding soreness, what gets you more sore? Are we talking 8 rep or are we talking 5 rep?
Definitely the 8s. try the 20 reps. Actually, one time this year, with what Nick said, one of my members was like doing 20 reps of 135 or something squat, and my weight is 135. So I'm like, if I can rep my body weight for 20 reps, I'll be pretty proud. I did it, and I couldn't walk the next day.
Nice.
So I did do it once, Nick. Probably never again.
That is a lot of reps. Yeah, that type of training, the higher those reps go, usually is if you're doing multiple sets, you're gonna feel that delayed onset muscle soreness for sure. But you know, if you're not perfect with your technique, or sometimes even if you are pretty good with your technique and you're really pushing it with the low rep strength stuff too, you might be feeling it in your joints a little bit more too. So it's a delicate balance.
Question for trainers on board. So Cassidy, David, Nick, when you guys are training, do you have someone watching you as well? I mean, I know us as coaches watch. Do you have someone watching you? And I'll answer that first. I do. I focus a lot when I'm doing it, but if I'm working, you know, if my goal is a set of 10 or whatever, and if I'm at 7 and starting to struggle, if I'm not having someone there watching me, my form falls apart on those. I need someone just giving me cues as well. Yes, I know what to do, but I'm so focused on moving that I tend to start falling apart if I'm at a high percentage of my max, or if I'm really struggling to get my goal. Do you guys use that as well? Do you use someone to help you guys?
I've had a weightlifting coach before a competition I did last year, and the feedback helped a lot. It's what I knew I was doing wrong, but it's just nice for somebody to tell you that and to remind you. Yeah, so you know what you're doing wrong. You have a feeling, you have an idea, and when somebody tells you or just provides you a drill to do, it's easier to listen. So I need someone to kind of tell me you need to do this before your squat or run or snatch, whatever it might be, and then I'll do it.
Go ahead, Cassidy.
I don't have any formal coaches, but I do work out around other trainers, and so we kind of feedback off of each other. So yeah,
That's
I think
good.
it's important because there's things that people can see that you just can't see when you're doing the lift, even if you're in front of your mirror.
Yeah, I completely agree.
My
David, do you?
yeah, my big dog watched me deadlift this morning, and he was rather unimpressed. He was like snoring as I was banging weights. So yeah, no. So I video myself on some top sets sometimes, just to make sure everything's looking okay. Other than that, I work out by myself, other than like random Saturdays. But whenever I can get feedback live, I do. But yeah, usually I'll just video myself and make sure everything looks good, or if I need to make a small little change.
Yeah, you need to make sure your four-legged coach wakes up and watches.
I was trying, man. Clanging and banging, nothing.
There's an app that I use called Coach's Eye that's used for exactly what David's talking about, and I can put my phone up on something, lean it up, and take video of me. And then after you're done, you can, the video processes, and you could put in angles, you could put in lines. Like if I was doing a back squat and I had the video facing me just straight on, I could put a vertical line right at my spine, and I could see if there's any deviation from side to side. You could slow it down in super slow motion. Really good tool. I use that quite a bit for both myself and for people who I'm training as well. I like seeing stuff slowly. It's easy to miss stuff in real speed. You're watching so many different joints, so many different angles all at the same time, and it's easy to miss stuff, but if you've got it slowed down, it helps quite a bit.
The app works really good. My coach even used to use that in gymnastics movements. So
yeah, love that app. That's been one of my favorite apps for many years now.
And what's it called one more time?
Coach's Eye. So I as an EYE, and the logo, it looks just like a baseball cap with a lens right in front. Costs a couple bucks, but yeah, it's a good tool.
Right on. Good stuff. All right. Lots of good information today. We're at time, everybody, but we will be back again early. Yeah, Christy, Coach's Eye.
Yes, that's correct.
We'll be back again next Tuesday. See y'all then. Have a great weekend.
Have a great weekend, everyone.
Good. See y'all.
Thanks.